AI is moving fast, but real value doesn't come from hype. It comes from people, practice, and learning together. Welcome to the Copilot and Teams Users Group, where AI and the AI-powered workplace get real. Your hosts for the Copilot and Teams Users Group are leaders working at the intersection of AI, collaboration, and real-world execution. Preston Piney, Director of AI Workforce at Microsoft, Aaron Miller, Principal Solutions Engineer at Microsoft, and Ryan Herbst, Chief Strategist at Unified Communications. This is a monthly online show and users group session designed for learning, sharing, and accelerating real AI value. The first 45 minutes are live and open to everyone, broadcast on LinkedIn, YouTube, and into the exclusive members-only users group meeting. This public segment features panel discussions, expert interviews, real-world demonstrations, plus news and analysis centered on Copilot, Teams, and the AI-powered workplace. Then we transition to something different. The second 45 minutes are a non-recorded, members-only users group session restricted to qualifying mid-market and enterprise end users. This is a trusted space, a shared journey, where members learn, explore, and openly share what's really working with the goal of accelerating AI value inside their organizations and personally. If you'd like to apply to join the members-only users group, you'll find a link in the show notes below. This show is made possible by our standing sponsors, Microsoft, bringing Copilot and the AI-powered workplace vision to life, AI Producer, a Teams native production studio that upscales Teams meetings, town halls, and events, and is being used to produce this show. Unified Communications, a global integrator and Microsoft partner that consults, deploys, and supports organizations in bringing their vision for a modern AI-powered workplace to life. With deep expertise across Copilot and Teams adoption, Teams Rooms and AV, Teams Phone, and Microsoft Places. Each episode also features a rotating show sponsor highlighting innovation across the ecosystem. Whether you're just starting with Copilot or scaling it across the enterprise, you're in the right place. This is about real experiences, real lessons, and real outcomes. Let's get started. Welcome to the July Copilot and Teams Users Group live broadcast. I'm Ryan Herbst with Unified Communications, and so glad that you have joined us. This month, we're going to keep the format a little more conversational. We have two core segments. One is a practical demo around Copilot for Finance. Super excited about this. And then a panel discussion that we've titled AI Confidence Meets Human Judgment, which I think is going to be a ton of fun. We also have a short sponsor spotlight from Unified Communications where Jacob Fisher is going to join me for a pre-recorded session. We're going to talk a little bit about AI-powered functionality coming into Teams rooms.
Yeah, so I just got to say, Ryan, I'm pretty excited about this one in particular because when I talk to leaders in corporate America, one of the things that I find on a regular basis is it's not enough to know how to use AI. You got to know how to use it well. And I think the topics we're talking about today are a big part of what it means to be able to use Copilot and other tools well.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think the other area that I'm super interested in exploring too is I think everyone's had that, received that email from a colleague that's trying to be helpful that just took whatever the AI tool they used, produced, and sent it off in an email and too fast of a response. And you look at it with even a little knowledge and know that they didn't vet this yet. So it might not be accurate and that it can cause frustration. So I think starting to explore like where you should be checking and validating your work is a great discussion topic.
Totally. Yeah. Before we jump in, just quick reminder, if you work for a company with 750 or more employees and you're an end user, you're not a reseller, a consultant, or a vendor, scan the QR code or look at the link in the show notes, and you can request access to our members-only Copilot Teams and Users Group session. This happens immediately following the live broadcasts, including today, and it is interactive, it is peer-to-peer, a lot of magic and power kind of happens in that room, and we would love to have you be a part of it.
Great. So up first is our section on Copilot Finance. This is one of those areas where Copilot can move from interesting to immediately useful. So month-end close, spreadsheet reviews, variance analysis, reconciliation, explaining data, and getting executive ready summaries about the information that you're working with in pressure, time sensitive and under pressure situations, is something that really matters to a lot of people in those type of roles. So the key question is not whether Copilot can help, it's whether Copilot can help in a way finance users can validate, trust, and use competently. So today we have a guest, Angie Springer, to show exactly how Copilot helps in this space. Welcome, Angie.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Again, my name is Angie Springer. I have a background in accounting. I have a degree in accounting. I've been an accountant, so I know what it's like to be in those different roles. And I've spoken to close to 1,000 finance customers over the last year and a half. So we've had a lot of great discussions about AI and how we can start applying AI in your daily tasks. And that's really been the challenge. So I'm going to go through what Microsoft has put together. We don't have a lot of time today, so I'm just going to give you a little taste in each of these areas. First, as we started this AI journey internally here at Microsoft and with our customers, we received a lot of feedback. And one of them is they love the great capabilities within Excel, where a lot of finance and accounting people spend the majority of their day. But it's really difficult to figure out how to create the right prompts to get the results that they need for their daily tasks. And because of that, Microsoft developed some out-of-the-box prompts specifically for people in finance and accounting roles. And we call these finance agents, and they sit right here in Excel. So if you can see, I'm in Excel, and I am logged in right here. And I have this capability called Finance. It is an add-in. So if you're logged into Excel and you don't see this, you will need to go into your add-ins, search for Finance, and install it. And once you have it installed, then you have some out-of-the-box prompts. Again, these are for things that we as finance people do every day, every week, and for sure every period end. And they involve financial data preparation, financial reconciliation, and variance analysis. So as I've been talking to all of these different customers, financial reconciliations comes up all the time. Whether we're doing intercompany reconciliations, we're doing bank reconciliations, payroll reconciliations, there's a myriad of different scenarios that we do. And we oftentimes do them in Excel. And what we decided to do was to create this prompt. Now, the first prompt that we do to support you in this is we call this financial data preparation. And what's very common is when you're pulling in data from multiple sources, the data doesn't come in clean. It oftentimes comes in with missing data, or the data is incorrect, and you need to cleanse that before you can reconcile it. So like in this case here, I have some missing customer names, I have a dash in my invoice number that doesn't exist in my ERP, I have some $0 rows. I need to cleanse that and remove those and fix that before I can do the reconciliation. And with that, I can use this prompt to solve that problem. Now, once my data is cleansed, then I'm ready to do my actual reconciliation. And what this does is it walks us through through this prompt. It's already pre-built. It's going to ask me which tables that I wanted to help me reconcile. I can select how I want to, what matching columns I want to include. In fact, it even recommends columns I should match on. And it gives me a lot of other choices here. And once I just run this, then it will automatically create the reconciliation report for me, which now I can see here. It's put my transactions into 3 separate buckets: unmatched, potentially matched, and matched. So this is the way that we can take things that we do all the time, especially at period end, and we can create these out-of-the-box prompts. They are highly engineered. That means they have AI technologies built in, but they also have determinate math. So we can offer a 99% plus accuracy rate with these. So that's step one. That's where I tell my finance teams, why don't you start here? Because this is really easy for things you already do. Then we can move on and we can do additional things, and we can explore new things when we're comfortable with prompting inside of Excel. And so now let's just go into a blank worksheet here. And if you notice down here on the bottom right, I have my M365 Copilot capabilities. Now, one thing I want to point out, when you pull up a new Excel spreadsheet, you may not see this for a second, and then it sometimes takes a second or two for it to pop up. So don't just think it's not there. Just give it a second and it will pop up. And now from here, I can do a lot of things. So let's say that I want to start editing or doing analysis or fixing some things on a spreadsheet that I already have that I'm working on in my OneDrive. I can come here and I can add in some additional word contact or different context or different documents I want to work on. I could also upload images or files that I want to use as part of my analysis. Another great thing that we have is we have some out-of-the-box skills, and these are things we can take advantage of that do things for us, that we've already developed the prompts for. So in this case, maybe I want to do a 3-statement. I want AI or Copilot to build out my financial statements, including my cash flow, my income statement, or my balance sheet. There's some other great capabilities if I want to do some returns analysis, which one of my customers wanted, and I showed him how they could use this. And you can build your own skills. So as an example, I created the skill where I wanted to have a skill that built out a CFO dashboard for me. And let me show you how I built that skill. So I'm just going to show you the prompt that I used. So I'm going to use Microsoft as my example. You could use your company as an example as well. Now, I'm pulling directly from SEC filings or company website filings. I'm pulling directly from the web because I want to pull in some, here, I'll show you what this is. I said, I am the CFO at Microsoft Corporation. Build me a dashboard that applies to my role. Pull actuals from company websites, SEC filings, and any other websites that are relevant. And I want to use actual numbers that are most current and then include some charts to help me visualize. So that is my single prompt here. So I'm just going to run this and we can see it working away here. And this like blew me away when I did this. And just based on this one little prompt here, let me show you what it created. It created this dashboard. So it is pulling, because since I don't have access to Microsoft's current financials, I don't have that access inside of Microsoft. It built this out from what's already posted publicly. So it's going to give me things that a CFO would want to see. I can see my key metrics here, my income statement information. Look at these key financial ratios that we look at all the time that are incredibly important for us. Balance sheet highlights. Look at my Q3 FY26 highlights, and then dividends and other information, cash flow statements. And of course, it's going to give me those great financial analytics that we always want to look at when we're doing this type of analysis. So that's just one prompt that I created and that we took a look at. But then I started to have fun with this. So I'm like, you know what? What's the number one thing I get asked when I'm talking to different finance teams across the country? Is they'll say to me, okay, this is cool. The CFO dashboard's cool, but can it do forecasting? Yes, it can do forecasting. And what do we always want to forecast? We want to forecast cash. Cash is king. So then I went out and I asked it to do a 3-year trend based on historical data. So it did that for me here. And I wanted to start looking how we're trending. And I want to use these trends, as well as I asked it to go out and search the web for trends that it sees happening in the next 6 to 12 months to create a 12-month forecast for me. So just based on that simple prompt, pulling in actual data, as well as data that I'm pulling out of the web, it was able to build out this dashboard for me, doing incredible cash flow for me, cash flow forecasting. And without even being prompted to do this, it even went out and said, if you're doing a cash flow forecast, you probably want to know what the positive drivers are. Where is your risk and headwinds? Some pretty important things that we as finance people want to start looking at. And then you can go
Angie,
crazy. Yeah, go
if I
ahead.
could call out real quick, I think what's kind of cool is you're showing them, you're using Copilot to actually edit the spreadsheet itself, to add data to the
Yeah.
spreadsheet. I think a lot of people had experience with Copilot a few months back when it didn't have those capabilities. So I just want to make sure we point out that we understand it may not have done that in the past, but you really want to take another look at this.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because what another question that I get is, okay, well, I'm going to be pulling in my data that's confidential, and I want to also search the web if I'm doing some forecasting, and I want to merge them together. And that makes me worry, because I have my internal private data and I'm bringing in web data and I'm opening that up. What's another thing that's very awesome about using Copilot itself in Excel is if I'm pulling in data from a different source, if I'm saying I want to use this document that's already labeled as confidential, anything that happens in a new spreadsheet that I've created, it will automatically update the new spreadsheet with that same confidentiality labeling. So that's huge, especially from a finance and accounting perspective. We really care about that. So you can really geek out on this. You can, I mean, like, obviously I said, okay, now let's show me what a CEO would want to see. Let's do a competitive analysis. A lot of times I build this out for my customers and they just can't believe it, because this takes days for them to traditionally do. And then lastly, because I have an accounting background, I used to be an auditor, I don't trust half of what I see Microsoft. I initially don't trust. So I'm like, I don't trust you, AI. I want you to build out a dashboard and show me all your sources and methodologies that you use to build out these dashboards for me. And it went out and it built this for me, where it's saying, okay, here's where we pulled the data. It's going to give me the reliability of those. These that are pulling from SEC filings, we can see that they've been audited, so they're high. And then when we're looking at forecasting information, they're less high. And it's going to give me all of those details in here as well, giving me that confidence in this data. Now, this blows me away, because having this background myself, I know how tedious and how long this can take. But then the next question I always get is, hey, this is fantastic. I love this. How do I put this in a PowerPoint? Because that's what I got to submit at month end. I got to have that ready for my CFO, or I got to present that to the board. And that's where we can start doing a lot of cool things. Now, I could do this manually. I could come into PowerPoint. I could use my amazing capabilities in here from a Copilot perspective. But if I want to set this up to be a workflow, this is now a game changer for me. So I can come in here, and in your standard M365 Copilot, and I'm going to move from my chat to co-work. And co-work is where we can start workflowing all these tasks that we do every period end, to start building things out and doing this type of analysis and creating the documents that we need in a sequential order. So in this case, to kind of make this more real, what I did is I took Microsoft's historical numbers and I fed them into my ERP system, because I want to pull data directly out of my ERP system to build these financial analysis. I wanted to see what that looked like. So in here, I said, okay, I want you to build out a P&L in this case, and I want you to pull the data from these journals. And I gave it some little bit more directions here, and we could help you build out that prompt. And then from there, it went out and it started building out my P&L directly from my ERP system. So it's fully connected for me now. I don't have to pull data out, put it into an Excel spreadsheet, then try to take that and put it into a PowerPoint. I can use Copilot and CoWork to do that type of work for me. So now it starts pulling in the data, formatting it for me, like you can see here. And then it created this P&L for me, which now I can see over here, which is much more simple than the document that we looked at earlier. But let's say I want to take this and I want to say, okay, can you create an interactive dashboard and a CEO board ready PowerPoint with these results? Again, just based on that simple prompt here, it's pulling this directly from my ERP system. Then it goes out and it created this PowerPoint here. So we can take a look at this. where it's going to give me these things. And I could have said, I want you to create this PowerPoint and format it to look like the one I use every single period end. And it would have done that. But it created this on the fly, which is pretty amazing in and of itself. And it could create an interactive dashboard as well that we can take a look at here. Where now I can say, okay, I want to maybe just look at 2025 results. Maybe I want to look at revenue. Or let's just look at our costs and expenses. That's really important to me. Or let's take a look at all years where I can see kind of that overall comparison year over year. So I know this was just a quick drive-by and I went over a couple minutes here, but I hope this is enough to get you excited of how you can take these new technologies and apply them to things you do every day.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I think, there are there any specific usage patterns that you think people ought to really take away from this, though, Angie? Like, you've worked with a lot of folks. What's the one bit of advice that you would give to somebody who's kind of new to working with AI and finance?
Yeah. So what I have seen, and then that's kind of like, where do we start? What I have found is sometimes it's easier depending on who you have. Sometimes you have more technical people on your team. Sometimes you have people that are a little more nervous. That's why I love these capabilities here. If you come into Excel, you do reconciliations in Excel all the time. Every single customer I've spoken to does it in Excel. And why not start with these out-of-the-box prompts here that get you started and get you excited and used to working AI. Then once you're comfortable with these, then move into these prompts. And really, there's a lot of things you can do just in prompting and just experiment and play around with that. And then you can start moving down the path and looking at other places. But usually what I hear people want to do is they want to do analysis. Maybe they want to move rows. Maybe they want to create an analytic within the Excel spreadsheet itself.
Hey, one quick question, actually. I work with a number of executives who do like month-end reconciliation and quarter-end reconciliation. They're not on the finance team necessarily, but they're doing a lot of it themselves. Can they still use that same tool?
Yes, great question. And it's funny because sometimes I'm showing this and they're like, well, I want to do a customer or an employee reconciliation. I want to reconcile my employee names from my ERP or finance system is against my payroll system. Or maybe I want to do an inventory reconciliation, totally non-monetary. And you can totally use that to do that. Same thing with the variance analysis, which I didn't go into. You could do a variance analysis for maybe cash flow statements year over year or month over month. Same thing with income statements. But some people do, they want to do a variance analysis for inventory again. And you can totally use it for that.
This is super cool. Angie, thank you. And I'm super excited that you're going to stay and join us for our panel discussion, because I think this finance discussion really it kind of sets up our next discussion super well. I think AI is showing up in every part of where we work and how we not just leverage these experiences, but gain confidence and trust in them is a lot of what we'll be chatting about next. So let's just, for a moment, we're going to transition to a spotlight on our sponsor, Unified Communications, and then we'll come back with our panel segment. But this month, Unified Communications is our sponsor for the Copilot in Teams Users Group live broadcast. And I'm excited to be joined by Jacob Fisher, Senior Strategist for Modern Work in AI. Jake, thanks so much for joining us.
Glad to be here, Ren.
Okay. Well, I know there's a lot of exciting things happening across this modern work in AI space, and specifically kind of AI-powered workplace. Wanted you to talk a little bit today around the merging role of Teams rooms. And so I think we've historically thought about these things as places to walk in and have a nice video conference or a Teams meeting. What are some of the kind of exciting things that are happening in the AI realm, specifically in these spaces?
Yeah, Yeah, you're right. I think a lot of people still think of AI in meeting rooms as what happens after the meeting, the AI generated recap, the notes, the action items. I mean, those are all still super valuable. But what we're starting to see is AI become part of the meeting experience itself. So with things like voice recognition, face recognition, and then teleframe, it really helps the platform understand who's actually in the room and who's speaking. That's going to make the recap better, but it's also going to make the meeting better for the people who aren't physically there. Showing you things like who's speaking in the transcript and the captions, the names of the people in the room showing up in the roster, so you get that list just like you do with people that are remote, and giving you that context. And coming soon, able to see like name tags for the people in the room who are showing on screen. So same way when you have someone who's remote on camera, you're able to see who that person is, which you historically didn't see in the room. The other thing that's really interesting, we're starting to see the room itself become more intelligent with facilitator that's been in preview, and now just starting to launch the room host agent. So the MTR is no longer just a device that joins the meeting. We're seeing it getting capabilities like helping you with room readiness. So telling you things like, is the camera blocked? Do you need to move a chair out of the way? Is the room size not quite right for the amount of people that you're going to have joining? Helping you with facilitation of the meeting. So like things like helping you get joined. The other day I used it where I asked it how to join a Zoom meeting that I hadn't invited, and it just told me, hey, share your screen with the invitation, I'll get you started. So all I had to do was plug in an HDMI cable. It grabbed the information, joined me in, did the rest. One little plug, and it took care of it. And being able to interact it with natural language, asking it questions during the meeting and getting responses back, either over voice or showing up on screen as you go through your meeting. So I think we spent the last decade, making it easier for the people to join their meetings. The next phase now is really going to be about making those meetings more productive in the room, more inclusive, and just easier to follow up on afterwards when everything's done.
Jake, thank you so much. And I know that you certainly shared that if anyone who is watching would like a deeper conversation around AI-powered workplace, the AI role of meeting rooms, that you and the solutions team are offering a complimentary strategy session, and there is a link to schedule that in the show notes for anyone who's interested. And again, thanks again for joining us, Jake. All right. Yeah. Aaron, you want to tee up our panel discussion? I'm really excited about this. And again, super excited Angie's hanging out.
Sure.
To
Yeah.
do
And
this
thank
with us.
you, Ryan and Jacob, for that, and Unified Communications for sponsoring this month. Let's see. So the finance demo, I think, was a perfect lead in to this next conversation. So basically Copilot can have can be incredibly useful, right? So especially when you're using it to get faster first drafts, do deeper, quicker analysis, get easier summaries of content like your meetings and things like that. But the hard part is that Copilot can often sound really confident, and confidence isn't in an answer isn't the same as having the right answer. So today we want to talk about where human judgment fits, when and how users should verify outputs, and how organizations can help people use AI well without slowing everything down. So, okay, Ryan and Preston and Angie, first question, where are you seeing trust gained or lost when using AI tools like Copilot? Is it in summarizations, when it works with numbers, providing citations, recommendations, other things? What do you see?
I'll
Go ahead,
start.
Ryan.
I'm really interested in others, and particularly Angie's thoughts on this. I just think, in general, I mean, I think all of us know we don't want to be that guy, right? Like there's that guy is emerging across a lot of organizations of the one that, just doesn't vet this stuff. And one of the real traps that people sometimes fall into is just, that it's super convenient. We can get a little lazy. We can apply less scrutiny to this output than what we would if a human produced it. Like if if I asked somebody to write an update that I was going to send to my boss, I would read that thing line by line if he was doing it for me before I just send it over blindly. But there's something about AI where people are just relinquishing a little too much control, and they're just copy paste and hit send. And so I think all of us know, it's kind of funny. In my family, we refer to We call this an ONU, which is often wrong, never uncertain. I have a daughter who gets this this name often. And I think we kind of have to really think of AI in similar fashion, right? It is not, it's going to come back with a very certain response. But in many cases, it could be wrong. And I think that's super, super important. So as we dive in, I think coming from a place of distrust is healthy, a healthy amount, not complete distrust, but a healthy dose of distrust becomes really, really important. And I think recognizing that AI is providing all of this new efficiency to me. So maybe a task that used to take me 2 hours now comes back in a couple of minutes. I now need to put 20 minutes probably back into that of serious focus, like more focus than I would have put even in the initial 2 hours. And I think trying to create and build that type of muscle and discipline is super, super important.
Angie, you're on mute. I get to put it on my bingo card.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I feel the same way as Ryan. We do need to do our due diligence and audit, if I can use a financial term. We need to audit Copilot. But you know what? This is nothing new to me. I was an auditor because humans make mistakes too, and we got to audit their work too. So what I found, and as talking to different finance teams, and with the new models that we have, with the Anthropic models, things have definitely changed from a finance and being able to analyze numbers perspective. But even then, a lot of times I'm going to go back and I'm going to do an audit of their work, or even I'll ask Chat to audit itself. I'm going to ask Copilot to audit itself, or I'm going to ask it to do a comparison from what I have in my ERP versus what was posted on a SEC filing. I will do that spot check or that audit, and we're still going to need to continue to do that till we fine tune our prompts and then can start automating those.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think one of the areas where I really put a lot of thought into is what's the culture around AI? And I think this is one of the most important cultural concepts, which is whether or not we are acceptant of people using AI, and how do we deal with it when people don't use it well. So I think it's that story of I constantly see people go, "Oh, sorry, didn't mean to send that. I hadn't finished yet." Little things like that, and pulling it back. I think when I talk to folks inside and outside of Microsoft, one of the biggest things that I'm looking at is that the more things we delegate to teams of humans who report to us, the higher our own accountability is, right? If I have lots of people working for me, I have a lot of accountability. I think I have to think about my role as an AI manager, whether that's an agent manager or whatever it is that I'm doing. And every time that I delegate some kind of work to AI, my accountability gets concentrated even more. I have a greater, more dense accountability. And so thinking about that way as a delegation makes it much easier to realize the more I take on, the more I delegate to them, the more accountability I have. And so I am a huge proponent of that becoming a conversation at the executive level and down, so that we actually can have this cultural shift to calling out when you used AI and not trying to hide it. This is the last thing I'll say on this, and I'll turn it back over to you, Aaron. But it's that EM dash, right? I talk to people all the time who try to hide when they're using AI, and you can where they go back in, and I've done this. I'm guilty of it. I go back in and I remove all the EM dashes, because no human being except professional writers use that thing. You know why? I can't even find it on my keyboard. It's not there. Like, as I know AI wrote it when I see that. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's interesting to think about this from the kind of cultural point of view, but I also think it's very much aligned with how we treat delegating tasks in general, right? So when you have, I have children, right? So when I have things that need done around the house, I judge what type of work needs done and to what quality, and how much effort I want to put into checking that work. and I will give it to the older child or younger child accordingly, right? So not to call AI a child, but it's a similar concept of, if I don't really need the results to be perfect, I just need them to get something done today. Maybe I can give that task to the younger child to go back, and I can just do a quick spot check and move on. That might be the quick reply to a colleague in an email when they ask a quick, easy question, and I just want it formatted better, or a little quick research done, right? Or then I need something actually done really well because guests are coming over. I need the kitchen scrubbed and beautiful before they come. That's going to be the older kid, and I'm going to come through and spot check and make sure that they did a good job, right? And that's the message that I'm writing for my manager, the presentation before I present it in front of executives at a customer and things like that. I'm checking the P's and Q's and the citations it's made and all of that before it goes out the door. So I think that kind of delegation and level of effort analysis go hand in hand with my trust in the person to execute the work, but also in how much I need to be responsible for the output and how important that output is in the moment. That gauges how much effort I'm going to put into the results and checking that work.
Hey, speaking of effort, can I give a quick tip to everybody about how I actually do this? So when I have those things where I don't want to sit there and read through every line of this super long thing, so I'm going to condense it to something shorter. But before I do that condensing, what I actually do is I have my Copilot or coworker or wherever I'm at, actually, I ask it to pressure test its own answers. A lot of times I'll say, for every statement or fact that you put into here, please score it from 0 to 100. For anything that scores below a 75, either remove it or rewrite it by reconsidering your sources and your hypothesis, those types of things. And I'll do that before I actually delegate out, hey, put this into a shorter summary or the final output. That's like a cheat code that has completely changed how quickly I can validate information.
No, absolutely. And that's critical too. What you're pointing out is the time when you should vet the information. It's not when you're creating the final product. It's before, when you're curating all the information before you generate the final product. You don't want to have to trust that the final product has the right source material if it's been abstracted or summarized, right? Because you might lose some of that context. So yeah, doing it early in the process, and then you can spot check throughout, I think helps immensely.
Hey, there's a weird skill that's developing, right? I'm getting better at it, but we'll just call it digital paint. It's watching the digital paint dry. That's how I think about it when I'm watching the thought process of the agent I'm working with. So like in Copilot, I can see the thought process, and it's sort of like, okay, best I can do is hit stop and say, no, try something different if it goes off the rails. But when I'm in co-work, I'm watching, I'm paying attention to what sources it's pulling data from, its assumptions that it's making along the way, and I will steer it as it goes. So it is really becoming a skill to be able to keep up with what it's doing. And that sometimes I'm multitasking. I come over and I just skim the thought process during the period I was gone, and I'll come in and really will tell it, hey, make sure you don't use that particular source, or let's make sure we rely on this, or you should have found a document called, right? And actually just sort of steer it more, because I don't do as good a job with context as I should sometimes.
So I think maybe personally, I think this is a fascinating conversation. I could probably talk about it for another hour or two, and maybe we will talk about it some more as we go into the user group in a moment. But do you, Ryan, maybe, or Angie, have any closing thoughts on this topic?
Angie, anything you want to leave us with? It's been super helpful, by the way, and thank you for all of your insights.
Well, I would just say get started, because if I've talked to 1,000 finance teams at different customers, everybody's starting to do this. And to be relevant in your job, you're going to need to start using it and adopting it. And honestly, it's really fun. You're going to enjoy it. So just get started.
Great advice. Yeah, and I think the goal is, it's not fear and it's not blind trust, and it's finding that kind of happy medium of what works for you, finding kind of the rhythm that we can use. And yeah, I think as Aaron mentioned, this is exactly the type of discussion that will kind of often carry over into our members only users group, and hearing how peers in other organizations are dealing with similar challenges is some of the magic that really happens. And so we're getting close to that time where we're going to transition from this the live part of this broadcast over to our members only users group. And so wanted to, again, just if you're an enterprise end user and want to be part of that members only Copilot in Teams users group, you can scan this QR code or use the link in the show notes to request access. You'll be notified about future shows as well. And if you found today's conversation helpful, yeah, we'd love for you to share this with others in your organization, or anyone who's trying to figure out how to use AI to their benefit responsively and effectively. And so, yeah, Aaron and Preston, any kind of closing thoughts before we move on to our users group session?
My only thought is I want to get to know everybody. Like, come show up, hang out with us where we can have two-way conversation. This talking at you through this thing is great, but it'd sure be better to talk with you.
Yeah, I'll echo that and what Angie said. Like it's about getting started with all of this technology. So and using the technology this is one of the most unique pieces where it can actually help you use it better, as opposed to tools that you've had in the past where you had to have somebody teach you or go get content to learn how to use it. This is smart enough to tell you, I can do these things, or you could do it better if. So asking it and just getting started in those directions, and then finding a community to come talk and learn from and engage in these types of conversations, or whatever's on your mind about this type of stuff, things that you're trying to use it for, learn what others are using it for, I think is invaluable. And we invite you to join.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just as a refresher, we created these public segments because we know there's lots, I mean, everyone's family members, like all of us know folks in our professional lives that we want to benefit from some of this AI knowledge and know-how. And so just love the fact that we have these public sessions that you can share with anyone. At the same time, I think from a professional perspective, you really want to kind of go deep and leverage the power of this. That's what happens in the users group session. So thank you again, everyone, and users group members. We will see you in just a moment. And yeah, thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for next month's live broadcast and users group session, which we'll be publishing soon. With that, we'll call it a wrap. Thanks, everyone.